we got a blockbuster trade right before the NBA training camps start around Media Day weekend. And it is a very surprising one where Karl Anthony Towns is now officially traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick. Charlotte got some salary fillers. We're not going to be focused about that. We're going to be focused on this part of the trade. The NBA offseason never continues to disappoint because we always get something crazy right before training camps begin. So let's get right into it with the basketball reasons. First, your initial reaction.
Initial reaction is Knicks won the trade, in my opinion. And the reason is because they got a guy who had some size and who could fit, the best shooting big man in the league. There's no denying that. And they could use some perimeter spacing. Obviously, they're on the little whole team 3-and-D thing vibe. That's their identity. He may not have the defense, but he definitely has a three ball. And overall, I just think it's a great move for the Knicks in terms of fit, as a basketball-wise, spacing-wise. The one thing that does concern me is that Cat is a nonchalant guy sometimes on the court, tends to foul a lot, and honestly, that might be smart for him if he doesn't want to get injured by Tibbs. But overall, I think he's got to fix the little things, because obviously that's what New York's about, doing all those little things as well as producing at a high level. He has the skill, he has the fit. It's just that he's just got to do those little things in terms of hustle and play defense and rim protect and all that stuff.
So I agree with that point, but here's the thing I'm going to say. He's playing under Tom Thibodeau. So if he doesn't do that, they're either going to bench him or find a way to trade him, right? Because Tom Thibodeau is a no-nonsense guy. He will bench players accordingly. But no, according from the basketball standpoint, off the bat, everywhere is just spacing, right? Not necessarily, like, yes, Jalen Brunson needs the ball in his hand compared to, like, other guys. At least, like, if he drives, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. The only guy who has been questionable three-point shooting ability right now is Josh Hart, who has been up and down in his career with it. But you have Karl Anthony Towns as well, right? And you lose a guy in Randle who brought so much to that organization. We'll talk about the Julius Randle, the Timberwolves side of things, but brought a lot of relevancy back in New York. However, he isn't like the guy to lead a team, right? And I'm not saying Karl Anthony Towns is that guy either, but with partnering him with Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brunson, yes, he's obviously the number one option, but it reminds me of more of a Halliburton Siakam, where this is more of a 1A and 1B situation. Similar to in Minnesota as well, where that was, yes, it's Anthony Edwards' team, but it was definitely 1A, 1B more likely. This is a better upgrade in that, right? Because, yes, with Cat, he's an all-star, consistent all-star from the beginning of his career. Randle, and the latter part of his career with the Knicks is when he started elevating his game a little bit more. Offensively, we know what he could do, right? The thing with Cat is he should not be able to settle, especially now that he doesn't have Rudy Gobert clogging the paint for him
as well. Yeah.
So he could go in and out. He could defer. He doesn't demand the ball ISO heavy wise as well. He's like I said, he's arguably, you said, the best shooting big in the league, probably arguably all time. He's arguably the most skilled big, overall skill talent. I'm not saying he's better than Embiid or Jokic, but he's arguably up there as a raw prospect that went first overall pick. So for the Knicks, yes, I like it in terms of a basketball perspective. My only flaws with them is like you said, the fouling and then the defensive part, which under Thibs, you would hope that he'll be more motivated, especially with the Knicks being a team that could challenge the Celtics.
And the last thing with the Cat thing here is that the one thing it doesn't fix for the Knicks is that it's still Brunson who's the only one that could create his own shot on that roster, right? When you
at least in the starting lineup, Deuce McBride has showed ability.
Yeah, but he's not proven. Okay, there's no one proven. So Brunson's the only proven guy. Randle would have been the second guy. Basically, he's the only other guy I can think that could create his own, bucket. But overall, they don't have that anymore. So again, a lot's gonna be on Brunson. So game planning wise, defensively might be easy in terms of getting the ball out of Brunson's hands. But overall, they should be able to challenge the Celtics and all that stuff. But a lot of onus is gonna come down to Brunson's ball handling ability and playmaking ability as well.
Obviously, they'll probably look to add during the season like a secondary ball handler, whether it be with Brunson
/ scorer. Yeah. Well.
Scoring wise, obviously you have Cat, right? So it's mainly like another ball handler that could facilitate a little bit more.
That's true. Yeah.
As well, kind of like Luka and Brunson were back in the Dallas days as well, right? But let's talk about the Timberwolves here. And listen, when we recapped the series against the Mavericks and we were talking about potential cat trades, you're like, they'll be dumb to trade anything, right? Because they beat the Nuggets, right? Off the bat. They have such good defensive firepower in general. They made the big man duo work up when it didn't really in the playoffs, but like in the regular season especially, it went nuts. And I'm like, yeah, like I agree with you, but I would still look like I wouldn't trade Cat, but that's your only option to trade. And I wasn't thinking this trade. I was thinking Brandon Ingram at the time. And who would probably, with the Knicks a little bit could fit because he's also his own ball handling ability as well. But them breaking this team up was surprising to me still because what worked, right? And here, the reason why, everything I said why it would help the Knicks, it hurts the Timberwolves. Clearly, they made the decision as Anthony Edwards' team. But the problem is you add in a guy like Julius Randle to that team, who is an ISO type of guy who will take the touches away from Anthony Edwards. Because Anthony Edwards needs the ball more in his hand to score, to even facilitate a little bit. He has Mike Conley with him. Obviously, he has Nickeil Alexander-Walker with him as well. So that issue with Brunson is not going to be with Edwards anymore. But it's like, for me, what I wrote here was like Randle is ISO heavy, will take the touches away. And like obviously he still believes that, he can be the number one guy on a team. That isn't in Minnesota.
Here's the thing with Minnesota. You traded the only guy that gives you the best spacing away.
Exactly.
Right? And now your spacing has gone even lower than it already was when you got Gobert and all the other guys you have already. Right? It's not like Edwards is the greatest three-point shooter. Like, he's up and down, streaky in that sense of his game. Same with Randle. He's streaky in that sense of his game. I don't think he's
career 33.3%.
That's
Dante
average.
DiVincenzo,
That's average.
Is 37.6%, but career year last year, he got better.
Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo's a great add off the bench, but in terms of starting lineup, obviously Randle's going into at 4. And the concerns for Randle is, not the fit of Randle is that the best three-point shooter. Yeah, you clog the paint more. Where you had a guy clogging the paint already in Gobert. And the second concern for Randle is injuries. He's coming off years in New York where
he had only 46 games
last year, and like there's other years where he has been injured too a lot. So not the healthiest guy as well, but it's not like Cat was either.
Yeah.
But overall, fit wise, I think it's worse. I personally believe the Timberwolves got worse in terms of their starting 5, in my opinion, and I think that's fair because Cat is the best player in this deal. The Knicks did win the trade. But overall, I don't think it's necessarily a fleece, but I don't understand why the Timberwolves need to rush. Yeah, need to rush.
Obviously, before we go on to why they made this move, because it's clearly financially.
Yeah, it's 100% financial.
Which we'll get into in a second here. Dr. DiVincenzo, obviously, we kind of wanted to see the friendship team. Radeep Janda was on the podcast. He's a Knicks fan, and he was excited for that. Obviously, we're not going to see that. From reports from John Krasinski, I think he's a senior writer at The Athletic, said essentially like his role was going to get diminished. You traded for Mikal Bridges, you paid OG Anunoby, you have Deuce McBride there, Josh Hart. Like his role was going to get diminished, and he obviously helped elevate that team, especially in the absence of Randle and all that. So the Minnesota Timberwolves at least added more perimeter defense. The thing with like for the Knicks, for example, they lose with Mitchell Robinson being injured all the time, so they kind of worked out for them. Yes, you lose a little bit of rim protection there with adding Cat and putting Robinson on the bench. And this side, you still have the rim protection from Gobert. Randle isn't a terrible defender. Like if you're under Thibodeau and you're playing,
Randle's a solid player. Yeah,
and the same thing with DiVincenzo. So at least defensively, I don't think it'll hurt them too much there.
No.
The question is like I said, the 3-point, like you said as well, the 3-point shooting is the biggest thing. And clearly they established outside of the financial regions, which we'll get into now. Either they had to keep Cat or they trade guys like Nas Reed and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They obviously chose to keep the depth more. Value was higher for Karl Anthony Towns coming off an all-star year. Had a better playoff run this year compared to years past. Like, yes, he had his moments of stinkers, but he also had his moments where he was the guy ahead of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, it has to be pure financial because it's not like Randle's much better in the playoffs himself. Exactly, right? Because Randle struggled when the Knicks made it.
Obviously, we made our points clear about the basketball side of things. The Knicks on the basketball side win the trade because the fit is just better and peculiar. Financially, here's why they got off the deal. Randle, next contract, he's a player option next year for $30 million, so he's obviously off the books quicker. Dante DiVincenzo has this and 2 more years at $12 million. Whereas Karl Anthony Towns now has still 3 more years and another additional year that's a player option, roughly 50 to 60 million. Let's just say it starts from 49 and goes high as 63 million. So this trade was strictly for them to have financial flexibility. Obviously, the Knicks worked. This deal worked for the Knicks because Jalen Brunson took that historic pay cut which I don't think we
Yeah.
mentioned on the pod yet.
That was crazy.
But he took that historic pay cut, eventually for Mikal Bridges to get paid as well. So clearly, it was financial driven. The question, what will make this trade a win for the Timberwolves, is how are they going to use that quote unquote cap space they kind of brought in with them. And like, listen, to close it out here, because obviously I don't think you have too much to add on the financial side of things. I just explained it. You already said it's the Knicks win. I agree that initial thoughts on Knicks win. We both agree with that. However, this has a potential still could be a win-win trade, in my opinion, depending on how Randall obviously plays and depending on if you let Randall walk next year on his player option and you don't overpay him. Let's see who you could partner with Anthony Edwards, whether it be via trade or free agency in the future.
Yeah.
But we'll close it out here. You have anything else to add?
That's it.
So essentially, NBA is back. The drama is here. We'll see what happens. The next guy we are waiting for is Brandon Ingram, who I thought was this trade originally going to be. But that closes out for us. This is our thoughts on the Karl Anthony Towns trade. Comment your thoughts down below. Hit that subscribe button. NBA content will be coming down soon, so hit that post notification bell as well. And 2 videos will be popping up. Click on them, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.